Welcome to the broadcast. Before we get down to business, I will respond to a question from a viewer by the name of Mireia. Hello, Mireia, dear. Out of grace, I shall not read out your surname. You'll just be Mireia, but I will flash up your photograph. I cannot say whether or not this is your actual photo or if you've pilfered it from some other poor unsuspecting person, but one can only assume that you are Mireia, that this is Mireia. Well, Mireia has been commenting on my channel for over a year. She keeps returning, presuming you're a she. She keeps, or it keeps returning, to tell me over and over that I'm a clown, and that I look funny, and that I talk funny. Well, you're right. In some respects, the way that I choose to present myself here and now on this screen. You're right. The quiz, my dear, is why you feel the need to keep returning and watching if you find such a creature so pitiful and so strange and unusual to look at and to hear. What is it that gets you returning again and again and again just to tell me and leave your little clown emojis? Addicted to the circus, are we? Well, there are only two kinds of people in this world, as Brittany Jean says. Those that entertain and those that observe. Mireia, dear, this week she says, you look and sound like a man. Are you a man? Well, I don't know if you're trying to get under my skin, my dear. Perish the thought. But if I look and sound like a man, if I look and sound like a big, bald, handsome man, a man huddling along like Harold, or a delicate flower like Meghan. If I look and sound like a man, my dear, then why are you asking the question? Why are you asking the question, are you a man? What is it that prompts you if you are so convinced of that gender expression? Why are you asking if I'm a man? Is it because you're interested what's going on down here? And did you know that I'm naked from the waist down whenever I broadcast to you? Could that be the quiz? The quiz in your mind? Are you just so curious as to what's he or she or it going on down there? Why are you so invested? Is it because you're hungry? You're hungry, my love. You're hungry and you want a slice of river pie. Well, queue up, my dear, queue up. Because if this is your photograph, and judging by this photograph, well, you say I'm the clown? I am too much of a lady or a gentleman to comment on your looks, my dear. Did anybody say wicked witch? Well, I'm too much of a lady, boy, and a gentleman to hold forth on such a thing. Mireia. But what I will say is that jealousy is an ugly thing, my dear. You're not the only ugly thing. Jealousy is also an ugly thing. So are you curious if I'm a man? Because you know that you, whatever your gender expression, Mireia dear, will never approach anything this pretty. Will never know what it's like to walk in a room and command it and have all genders, all expressions, men, women, and every other creature in the forest collapsing at your feet to try and get a sniff and a whiff and a taste of this royal expression. Yes, my dear, I've had more men falling at my feet than you've had hot dinners in your life. And your husband's probably one of them, my dear, queuing up, looking over your shoulder to see, oh yes, what is it? What is it? Can I have a bite? No. No, I'm not having sloppy seconds, especially after you visited the likes of Mireia. So, listen and learn, my love. You will never have the privilege of beauty. You will never have the privilege of smarts. You will always have the poor misfortune of being an internet troll that gets their jollies leaving clown emojis and asking prurient questions. So regardless, you will never have that joy, my dear. You are one of those that has to try and surround the picture with a frame of foliage to distract from the horrors within. Oh, Maria. One can only assume that you are leaving such comments because perhaps you are a fan of the Harkles and you can't bear the thought of me disparaging them or criticising me from time to time. Well, what would the Harkles think about you? Questioning my gender expression, or my appearance, or my very biological sex, as if it is any of your business. What would they and Archewell and all of their honorees think about it? And I've noticed this is a pattern with some of the very few rotten fruits in the basket. Will try and use that as a stick to beat me with. Well, you're going to have to try a bit harder with that sort of hanky-panky, my dear. Because ghastly people. Well, I've given you the attention that you've craved for a year, my love. You happy? You happy that you've got my attention in some way? Because you know that I wouldn't even notice you on the streets if you were painted pink with big dealy boppers on your head and a zebra crossing painted all over you. Like the Duchess of Sussex this week. I wouldn't notice you. You are the invisible Maria that hankers after the kind of attention that I get trotting down the street with a messy bun, no makeup, and a sackcloth over me without putting any attention into it at all. You will never experience that kind of star quality, my dear, unless you're at the cinema chucking popcorn at the screen, watching something. You will never experience that, Maria dear. So I feel sorry for you, I feel pity for you. And before we progress, just as I have taken the upper hand with the likes of Maria, I will encourage my viewers on this broadcast and every broadcast, as it says in the disclaimer under this very video, to approach the comment section with playfulness. I do not want this to be an atmosphere of hatred. I do not hate anybody, including the Duchess of Sussex or Prince Harry. So I ask you to keep things in the spirit of playfulness. A little bit of cattiness, fine. Somebody said to me in the comments this week, why are you so cruel about Meghan's clothes and the dress? The foreskin number she wore a couple of days ago. Well, if you'd spent any time on this channel, you would understand that there is an element of drag, humour and comedy to this channel. And in that spirit, I am not afraid to drag anybody at all, whether it is Meghan, Harry, or the late Queen Elizabeth, or Catherine, who I said resembled a penguin in her white dress with the black opera gloves, or the poor Yorkie girls, Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice. Regular viewers will know that I call them out regularly for looking like a bag lady on stilts. And for the huge headbands, the cummerbund affairs. Meghan is not the only one. And the royal family are not the only one who receive praise, because, as some of my viewers don't like, I will often declare my praises for them when they get it right, as I will be doing in this video. I will be pointing out good and bad. So, let's get on with the broadcast. Maria, my dear, go and have a lie down and play with yourself while you're watching me, if that's how you get your jollies. Enjoying herself just a little bit too much, while being appalled that I have dragged you down for filth, my dear, dragged you down to the gutter. Well, you were already in the gutter, so there was no need for that, was there? It's a birthday today. And another thing, darling, please, I know that many of you think that Meghan is 64 or 53 or all of this kind of thing, but it takes me so long to go through the comments. She is 42 years old. If you believe something else, please go and plaster that all over the paper. Don't leave me 1,000 comments saying that she's 47, River, she's 48, River. Please, spare me some time. She's 42 years old as of today. And we were treated to some wonderful photographs of her celebrating at an Italian restaurant in Montecito. Were any of you there? We'd love to hear from you, wouldn't we, my dears? The restaurant Tre Lune, which means 3 moons on display. It's the beloved haunt of celebrities such as Kourtney Kardashian and the degenerate known as Ellen. And she's made a huge splash with her choice of gown. This dress, this strapless collar dress, well, she's really handed us to it on a plate this time, hasn't she, my dears? This dress, which has been making headlines on social media, that's for sure, by Posse, the Theo dress, £188, but continues in her new theme of low-cost living. She is continuing along, seemingly taking advice from her new agent, Ari Emanuel, advice to ditch the luxury market. No, that was never going to be yours, my love. Yes, you got your cover through Eddie Edinful because you were royal and for no other reason. Yes, you got your little Vogue moment. Well, you ditched the royal family. And the decision makers ditched you, my dear. So now you are stuck with the lower end market, in this case with this Theo dress. She toted along her gayer bag, which I happen to like from a distance. I rather like it, and strappy flats, no problem with that whatsoever. But the dress, she's handed us this gift on a plate, my dears. Immediately I saw a compression sock or some sort of tuba grip bandage. I got cat burglar vibes, creeping around with a little swag bag of dollars. Meow, 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 of all the gowns in the world. She picked this, and this is where the mind boggles. She picked this, and to be honest, the disparagement shouldn't only go to her for choosing that particular gown, but should also go to the designer, because it breaks one of the most fundamental rules of designing, which many of us all know. I'm not quite sure why the rebellion kicked in, but it accentuates all the wrong sections. I mean, the design of it is unappealing enough, to be quite honest with you. Horizontal stripes can be done well, but in this affair, they have accentuated all the wrong sections because, as you will know, light projects. Anything white or light or pale projects, whether on eye makeup or with contouring or with clothes. Light projects, dark colours recede. So, you use them at the base of the eyelid or in a part of the clothing, the wardrobe that you want to cinch in and sort of form into the shadows, and then the light bounces off the light colours. Well, what they should have done with this dress is to have made the bust section white, and then the waist section should be black so that it all pulls in and cinches it in. And the hips could have been white so that they then project out, giving off a bit more of an hourglass suggestion. This is totally wrong. It's totally the wrong way around. How could the designers have made that rookie mistake when making the decision on how to form it? Oh yes, we'll put black around here so that it constricts everything in, takes away any shape from the top, and then follow it up with white here so that everything here seems to be projected and bulging out. And we'll do everything in our power to give you the impression of a slouchy middle. And then we will make it look as if you have saddlebag thighs by placing white exactly on the place where it needs to be a little bit more muted. Awful decision from Posse. I haven't had time to look through any of their other designs, but I am not impressed with that from the offing. Some have said that the pair of them had a look of Hamburglar and Ronald McDonald, and I can see why the comparison was drawn. Some have said that she resembles a lighthouse. Yes, the lighthouse family in the house. Others have drawn comparisons to a zebra, a Sephora shopping bag, or a pair of socks. It's lucky she didn't plump for a pair of red shoes or stilettos this time, isn't it? Because I was certainly getting vibes of Wicked Witch of the East. And as you've been told before, orange isn't the new black, Meghan is the new black. Sussex incarcerated. And when she's on recreation at the jail and she's allowed 5 minutes to go and take a shower with her fellow inmates, she wraps herself in a bath towel. So let's turn for a moment to a few of the things that I appreciated about her look. I thought that she looked really pretty. I think her face looked lovely. I have no problem with that. Tendrils aren't my thing, but I would be a hypocrite if I spoke about tendrils, wouldn't I? Because I'm always sporting them here on the channel. In real life, I just have some messy bun affair, my dear, but on the channel, I will wear tendrils, and I understand her dilemma, because if you cut them too short, they become bangs, and if you leave them as long as the rest of your hair, then they flop all over the place and get in the way. Well, you've got to cut them somewhere, and you've got to style it in some way when you're off duty or you're on duty, whichever way around it is. So I have some sympathy for that, and although I don't love tendrils, I think in this case you couldn't really avoid them in that respect. Might have been better with a full hair up, but it was fair enough, and I thought her face looked really nice. And she's just stepping out for a birthday dinner, so she doesn't really have to be on parade, apart from the fact that she might be merching on behalf of this company posse. I thought her arms and shoulders looked really nice. I like the cold shoulder look on her, and she does, in my opinion, look better than she did a year or two ago, and I think it has behooved her to lose a little bit of weight. She looks good as she is at the moment, and when she puts on a few pounds, she can appear bloated. Some ladies, when they put on a few pounds, look wonderfully blossomed and curvaceous and juicy and plumptious and all the rest of it. That on Meghan, I think how she looks at the moment is good. But whatever you do, just don't say her name 3 times out loud. And I don't believe any of the rumours about facelifts or any sort of invasive surgical interventions. And so to Harry. Well, what can one say about Harry? He looks perfectly acceptable. I don't like linen, so I'm never going to enjoy that shirt, which to my eye at first glance appears to be a linen shirt. I did go through a phase myself of wearing linen a few years ago, and I loathed it. I hate the feel of it. Some of it has a sort of waxy feel. I hate the creasing, and it's just not for me. There are many people in my world who adore linen, who wear linen all the time, and it's absolutely the thing, and it's very popular, but it's just a personal preference. So that is what it is. I hate linen. I hate crumpled old linen shirts. I don't care how sort of louche it can look, or Mediterranean. No, I don't like it. And I preferred even the top that their associate was wearing, this black top. I prefer black in the evening on gentlemen. And this friend of theirs is Matt Cohen. He is the husband of Heather Doorak, who was one of Meghan's closest friends. I don't believe that she was there at this meal last night. She might have been. I didn't see hide nor hair of her. But she is the one that is a Pilates and yoga instructor. And Meghan was one of her first clients many years ago, going back to the early 2000s, about 2005. And we've seen them on many occasions, but they were with them at Jackson Hole for the 4th of July parade last year. And this Matt Cohen is the founder and CEO of a money-saving app, the one called Grand. Have you heard of it? I'm not familiar with it, but apparently that's what he does. And he's posted on Instagram in the past about a certain wedding at a certain St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Beautiful day celebrating the love of a dear friend with Heather Doorak. So there they are, all cosy at the wedding, the doomed wedding. And I saw that he is also a partner in the investors that are known as City Light Capital. Interesting. Meghan Kelly popped up online with her opinion, and she said that the Ari Emanuel effort, Ari Emanuel is the new agent via William Morris Endeavour, the Ari Emanuel effort to rehabilitate M. Markle is obvious. Suits is everywhere. People magazine with 4 pieces on how she's softened on the royal family. Sure. New PR push, and it will fail. This is not some blank canvas on which an agent can paint. We've seen who she is, and we firmly rejected her. Harsh words there from Meghan Kelly. I'm happy to say that the Duchess of York is feeling much better since her surgery, her single mastectomy surgery that took place in June. She says she's feeling much better, and she's named her breast, her new reconstructed breast. It is now known as Derek. Yes, Derek and Eric are the name of her breasts. She said, now I have a friend, Derek, with me all the time who is protecting me with his shield of armour. She has a rather romantic imagination, doesn't she, our Fergs? Our dear Fergie. she likes to view the world in this way, which one can only say is rather sweet at this time. And as I often say, life is imagination. So use it to your benefit. I get it. I understand why she does it. Well, she has a new bestie, and that is Derek the boob. But she said that poor Eric on the right is feeling rather sad because he is not as perky. And I have heard of this going on before. As soon as you have a breast reconstructed, if you only have one, then all of a sudden, you know, you have this perky thing, and the poor Doug is doing what boobs naturally do, my dear. I have a friend of a certain age who's one of the funniest ladies I know, Pamela. She's always told me that they look like two sucked out tea bags, but you know, she blames her children for that. Well, what can you do? That comes along with life, doesn't it, my dear? You can't have Pinky and Perky forever. Well, such is life, dear Fergie, but who cares? All we care about is the fact that you are safe and well, and we are glad to hear that you are doing very well, my dear. So thanks for giving us a little laugh there, my dear. I enjoyed wearing my princess costume a few weeks ago, where I was all in pink, and many of you told me it was part of the Barbie cord trend, which I've been sort of studiously avoiding. But yes, the Barbie cord trend, which must by now be becoming passé, right? I mean, we've had Barbie. Genius marketing, wonderful hype machine for this movie. Some of you have asked if I'm going to watch it. I'll probably check it out when it comes to Netflix or streaming or something, but I'm not going to go to the cinema to watch it, my dear. It gives me a headache just looking at the trailer. Doesn't sound like my cup of tea. But I'm saying this because members of the royal family have been reimagined as Barbie dolls by a digital artist agency or company, Storial Media, employing a little bit of AI. And I rather enjoyed the images. Here we have Charles and Camilla, our king and queen, enjoying a tipple. They always seem to be enjoying a bit of a tipple, don't they? I bet they get so drunk in the evenings together and have a good old frolic. And I think that Her Majesty looks fabulous in these pink frocks. I really enjoyed the images, very glamorous. And here are the Prince and Princess of Wales. And I really enjoyed this rose sceptre with a crown on top. Oh, I would have loved one of those as a child. Well, and as an adult, but don't tell anybody. I like this gown with the sort of belted, chic, crystallized affair. Very nice. And William looks particularly handsome with this very square jaw, doesn't it? Very square, almost as square as it is in real life. But yes, a dream of a gown there. Actually, when I look back over my school exercise books, which are the sort of lined little books that you can draw your notes in this, that and the other, I was infatuated with drawing that kind of gown, you know, where they go down hourglass shape into a sort of V. They go down into a V by the V, and then they go all sort of puffy. Well, I've got hundreds of sketches by me, childhood sketches, again and again and again. I would constantly be drawing that. I'm sure that doesn't really surprise you, does it, my dear? That's your insight into my psychology, my princess psychology. But yes, always drawing those V gowns. Oh yes, and I used to draw a sort of diamond lattice over the bodice, studded with little crystals as well. It's all coming back to me now. But yes, I would have rather enjoyed that gown, can't deny it. And I think that they looked so cute in pink and blue together. Wonderful. As for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, here we have Harry and Meghan. And a very flattering rendition of Henry there, isn't it? Very flattering. And Meghan is featured in an array of pale, nudie pinks. Very, very subtle, pale nudes. The grin in some of these, that rigor mortis grin, is rather accurate, I have to say, spookily accurate. And they have Harry clutching a teddy bear. Wah, wah. Is that why they called that tone? Wah. And the late Princess of Wales, Diana Frances, here she is. But to my eyes, she's channeling Princess Michael of Kent, don't you think? Very high-octane glamour. She's channeling Dynasty and Dallas. And I love this cold shoulder gown. Just one cold shoulder. Gorgeous, yes. Glitz and high hair. Rain Spencer would have been jealous of that high hair, almost. And structured shoulders there, sculpted and structured, and a wonderful reimagining of Diana Frances. And here, tissues at the ready, is a reconstruction of the late Queen Elizabeth II, with a handbag. For the first time, a pink handbag. Well, I'm presuming it's the first time. She always used to carry the black one, didn't she? But there she is, with a frilly pink handbag, lovely, and some thick coats and luxurious fabrics there, very enjoyable, with lustrous pearl adornments, lovely, and white gloves, but no corgis on this occasion, which is sad. But there will be corgis following her in a new tribute to the late Queen, because she is to be immortalised in a 7-foot-tall sculpture. This is her first memorial statue, although I believe that there are a number of memorials in the works and on the way, as there should be, but this will be the first, and it's going to depict a young queen of the 1950s and 60s, and it'll be erected outside Oakham Library in Rutland. It's been made using 800 kilos of clay, depicting her youthful splendour in regal state robes with a corgi at heel. Isn't that wonderful? Little bit worried about passing dogs. I hope they won't be able to get too much access to it, because they might start trying to hump the corgi or cocking a leg or all kinds of things. It was commissioned by Dr. Sarah Finesse, the Lord Lieutenant of Rutland, who was inundated with requests from people wanting to see the late Queen memorialised, and they made the decision to work with the clay and make her as a queen, not a person, if you will. They wanted a sovereign to be displayed, but one that reflects her warmth and personality. And that's a really lovely way to do it, isn't it? But it looks like they're on the way to getting it right here with the Queen, so that's lovely to see. And the sculptor said that the corgi nestling into her robes was an artistic symbol of our late Queen as mother of the nation. The Princess Royal has attended one of the final rehearsals of the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo, ahead of its official opening night this evening as the broadcast goes out. Well, over 800 performers from across the globe are taking part in this year's production. The production is called Stories, and it's a celebration of sagas, myths and legends, transporting audiences on a journey of ideas, from the earliest campfire stories through to the world stage. And after watching artistic performances by military bands on parade ground, Her Royal Highness met with performers and support staff. The Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo was established in 1950, and it usually takes place every year in August on the esplanade of Edinburgh Castle. This year, the showpiece event will run from the 5th to the 27th of August. We were discussing tattoos the other day, and I received a comment from Desiree Taylor, who also mentioned something that relates to the next portion of this broadcast, which is why I'm reading it out. Desiree Taylor: my dad had tattoos. He got them while serving in the Royal Navy and during the Korean War. He was proud of them, and they each had a story. On his chest was a mermaid, and on his arms were anchors, a ship's wheel, and a sailing ship. He always told us not to get them unless they have a story. Well, your comment was timely, my dear, because you mentioned the Korean War. Because the Duke of Gloucester joined serving soldiers and veterans from the United Kingdom and Korea to remember and honour the 81,000 who served in the Korean War. 70 years after the truce was signed. These things vanish into the annals of history, don't they? But we remember, you remember, and the Duke of Gloucester, our beloved Dickie Gloucester, he remembers, as a devoted member of the royal family, working tirelessly. He remembers, and he makes sure that everybody else remembers. This is one of the things that royalty does very well, that other people do not, and governments do not. The conflict witnessed more than 1,000 British service personnel killed in action, and thousands were injured, and over 1,000 suffered as prisoners of war. Supported by their families, the veterans from both nations, not just the United Kingdom, but from both nations, watched with the widows as regimental drums were placed on top of each other to form an altar at the heart of the House Guards parade, just as they would have been by the battlefields in Korea before fighting began. Isn't it wonderful how royalty brings people together in the spirit of reconciliation and unity and peace? I wish you a very peaceful evening, my dear fruit basketeers. I look forward to seeing you next time. Leave me a juicy comment, and if I made you chuckle, my tip jar is in the Privy Purse description box. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your company, and I'll see you soon. Ta-ra, my dears, and toodle pip.